Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a few days, so I just thought that I would pop on and have a little chitty chatty and let you guys know what's going on with me. Of course, I'd always like to know what's going on with you before I go any further. My name is Lori, and I'm otherwise known as the Frugal Mom. Uh, I like to focus my content on frugal cooking, food pantry blessings, frugal grocery hauls, all things mom and mom life, dealing with chronic illnesses, um, homekeeping, and all things really. Most of all, living an abundant life on a low income. So, not sure if yeah, I did mention a couple of days ago, a little bit under the weather. My poor son has been so sick for the past 3 weeks. It's craziness. And we've been to the doctor like 3 times, and we don't have COVID, and we don't have the flu. I have a sinus infection. He has 2 viruses that came back on a viral panel. Thankfully, the chest x-ray that the doctor ordered came back clear. Apparently, the viruses are very common, and if you had one at a time, they wouldn't be so bad, although they're pretty horrible in and of themselves when they're, you know, had individually. But together, they kind of pack a wallop, and they kind of overwhelmed the poor guy, and he was pretty miserable. So, he was out of school for a whole 6 weeks. Not 6 weeks, I'm sorry, guys. 6 days. Oh my God, imagine 6 weeks. Ugh. I had that happen to me when I was in high school when I had mono. I was out for more than that, actually. But, I digressed a little bit. So, his fever finally broke yesterday, and so he'll be able to go back to school on Monday. Because I don't know what it's like in other parts of the country with sicknesses that, have fevers that come along with them. At least here I know that your child has to be fever free without the use of any meds for 24 hours before they can go back to school, which is rough. So, yeah, I'm concerned because he's missed so much work. I just hope they're lenient with him and that he has a tolerance to, catch himself up when he goes back, as he's not a really big fan of academics to begin with. So, yeah. So, of course, I must have caught one or both of the viruses from him, and I started not feeling well on like Tuesday night. And by Wednesday evening, I really wasn't feeling very good. Like, I was just achy, and I had chills and a fever. And by Wednesday evening, I was vomiting, and I had a migraine because I couldn't keep anything down. It's dehydration. I'm good. Dehydration. I'm still a little out of it. Forgive me. Dehydration, of course, will, make migraines come on. And not to be gross or give you guys TMI, but I also had some diarrhea with it too. At some points, it was coming out of both ends, which I know is disgusting. I'm sorry. But we're all adults here, right? And we know that it happens. And I just can't believe that this wasn't the flu. But apparently it's not, because I was tested again at the hospital for COVID and flu. And that brings me to my other points. So when I get something like this, like a virus that causes vomiting, I go into cyclic vomiting or cyclic vomiting, and my body just can't stop itself, and I will literally vomit everything out of my system, and I'll still heave even though there's nothing in there. So I can't take oral meds, I can't take liquid meds, nothing that dissolves under my tongue. It's really horrible, and it really knocks me for a loop, and especially if I have a migraine with it, and the migraine kind of exacerbates the nausea, and the nausea kind of exacerbates the um migraine. It's just not good, and it's pretty horrible. It makes me very weak and disoriented, and I have to make sure, like, after a certain point, if it doesn't stop, which lately when I have these infections and viruses that cause vomiting. It hasn't stopped. Like, sometimes I'll be lucky and I'll just vomit once or twice, but for the past couple of years, it's just been I could vomit as much as 20 times in, like, a couple of hours period, and it's just, like I said, I don't wish it on my worst enemy. It's just not good. So, by about 11 o'clock on Wednesday evening, I just knew I had to call an ambulance and get myself some help. So I did, and I went to the hospital, and thankfully, they're very good at treating these things, and they have my records, and, they just right away gave me the really heavy duty meds to stop the cyclic vomiting. They took some blood work, of course. They gave me fluids. Um, they gave me something for the pain, which I was so relieved. Like, it gets to the point where I was even sitting up in the hospital bed, getting sick, and to the point where you're just like praying, please God, make it stop. And it just hurts every part of your body to heave that much. You don't even realize it. Like the back of my head, which was already inflamed from the migraine, and my back and my chest. And I don't want to go on about it for too long, but it was really bad. And oh my gosh, I guess I have gone on about it for a while. Sorry, y'all. I guess I just need some rate of vent too, but it was rough. But I'm so thankful to that hospital staff. They were so kind. And the doctor and the nurses. And they just took such good care of me. They checked in on me to make sure that, I was okay, which you don't always get. So the medicine did its job. They had to give me several doses of it. My blood work came back that my magnesium was low, which is not surprising, because when you're getting that sick, your body's losing minerals and nutrients. So they gave me some magnesium via IV as well. And, about 12 hours later, I was able to come home. But I was still really loopy. And I'm also grateful that the hospital paid for a lift to bring me home, because I couldn't drive myself, obviously, and I had no other way to get home. And I really couldn't afford an Uber or a Lyft. I mean, from the hospital to home, it's over $40, almost $50. So grateful that they got me home. And then the remainder of the day, I pretty much slept because I was still so out of it from those meds. I was so loopy. I'm surprised that I was even able to stay awake in the car on the way home. I'm lucky I didn't wake up someplace else other than home. Oh my goodness. So, I even tried to shower. I didn't tell you guys this before. I just remember this. I did shower, but it was really hard before I called the ambulance. I thought, well, maybe if I take a nice shower and relax some muscles in my back and my neck, it'll help me and I'll feel better and it'll stop. Well, no, because I got sick there too in the shower. The hits just kept coming. Oh my goodness. So, unfortunately, I don't have anybody here to help take care of me. I don't want my sister to get sick. And, Matt's a kid and he was already in bed and he's sick himself. But, like I said, I was grateful for the hospital and their help and the kind EMTs that came for me. Excuse me, guys. So, all that being said, I'm feeling so much better today. I was able to keep down a bowl of soup and an egg sandwich and lots of water, thankfully, and lots of diet ginger ale. I decided it would be best for groceries this week not to waste my energy, even if it was a little bit more expensive, and I did a Walmart from home order. Usually I shop at a couple of stores and try to keep my budget under a certain amount, but I did go a little over this week, and that's okay because it couldn't be helped. And I figure all those savings I have from the other weeks, kind of help me out in a situation like this. So now we have what we need for the week, and I got some extra meds and things like that. So that's a good thing. Um, I'm just a little behind on holiday prep. I know I really shouldn't be that concerned, but hey, I'm a mom. I'm a homemaker. This is my time of year. I love this time of year. My tree is technically up, it's just not decorated. So I still have to finish fluffing the branches. So I'm hoping to take a little nap and get up in a few hours and at least finish fluffing, get the lights on. Now it was pre-lit, but I had kittens last year and they chewed the wiring, so I'm glad that they didn't get hurt. But now the lights don't work anymore, but that's all right, you know. I didn't spend that much on the tree. I got the tree secondhand off Marketplace, so, you know, a friend of mine was kind enough to give me a few sets of lights, um, and I have another set to throw up on it so it's nice and bright. I'll get it up. And I did save myself the grocery shopping, so that's a plus. Um, and I'm just hoping to relax in between doing what I have to do this weekend. I'll, you know, do some cooking, easy stuff like Crock-Miss stuff, you know, like, because I'm also behind on that. I only have 2 Crock-Misses up, and Candy, she's really got a head on me. Good for you, Candy. And you have a broken foot, girl. So, yeah. So, I'm gonna mention that again. So, Candance Brewer and I, we are doing a series called Crock-Miss. It's a follow-up on our Croctober series. It's all of our favorite recipes that can be made any time of the year. Our different takes on recipes, different sizes. I know that she's focusing more on smaller portions if you have a smaller family or you're just a single person. And I, of course, have a little bit of a bigger family that's at home right now. So mine are more either for a crowd or, you know, like a medium to larger size family. You know, sometimes I like to, you know, cook in bulk, and I like to freeze. So I have a freezer meal to pull out. So different recipes, different sizes, different approaches, and they're all great recipes, and they're all useful to have in your arsenal, especially this time of year when we're all so busy that just to throw a meal into a crock pot and set it and forget it. Hey, how awesome is that? So, yeah, check out our Crock-Miss series. If you're not subscribed to Candance Brewer's channel, I will leave the link down below for her. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. It's not always doom and gloom here, y'all. So, I'm laying here with my nurse cat. Let me show you her if I can. Well, I'll cut to her in a little bit and I'll show you her because I have to change the orient of the camera. So, I want to know something. Moms of teenage boys, why are they so gross? Of course, you know, viruses go through whole families. They go through all households, but I don't know. Like, I tend to feel like if boys weren't so gross, that it wouldn't have spread like this fast and this bad. Like, you know, like, he thinks nothing of just like sneezing and coughing into the air and right next to you too. And he doesn't wash his hands like he should or as often. And then he's touching handles and light switches and oh. And then he's got like the disgusting tissues all over the furniture and all over the floor. And I swear there's not enough Lysol in the world to keep up with it. And I wipe things pretty regularly, and more so when we're sick, you know, but you just can't keep up with it when you've got somebody like that. I mean, like, he would cough in his hand and then go touch the refrigerator handle. And if I didn't see that, yuck. Oh, and I wouldn't even get into some of the other stuff. But God, they're just gross. You know, and then when I say something to him about it, he just tells me to stop harassing him or get off his rear end or something like that. And I'm like, oh, God. All the handles to everything are sticky and gooey and they have food residue. It's just, oh, geez, Louise. Ugh, I love him to death, you guys know I do, but come on, man. Get with it a little bit, especially the gross tissues on the floor and on the furniture. Oh, I feel like all I've been doing for the last couple weeks is laundry to keep up with, the spread of the germs, and it still didn't help me. Or my sister, she's got a little bit of it too. So, just wondering, like, why are they so gross and how long does it take them to grow out of the grossness? My daughter's not quite this bad. She had her moments, but, she doesn't leave gross tissues all over the place and food residue and all of that nonsense. But believe me, she definitely had her moments, but she was much younger. I know that boys take a lot longer to mature than girls do, but geez Louise, like I said, it's a whole lot sometimes. And of course I'm concerned when he's going in the fridge and he's touching food, so when he's sick, I usually opt to just do that because I don't want to throw anything out because he's touching food and contaminating it. And then he says silly things like, well, I'm going to be the one that eating it. Yeah, not all of it. So, yeah, you could tell I'm feeling better. I got my corny sense of humor back a little bit. So, marked difference from yesterday to today. So, let's see what else is going on. Oh, yeah, and this drives me crazy too. So, parents of school-age kids, I don't know what it's like state from state, but, for school years, we have 16 days or 16 absences in each class that the children can have. And lates over a certain amount of minutes are considered an absence. I'm not exactly sure the amount of minutes. I want to say like 15 minutes, which makes sense. Not really sure about that. That's a little gray area to me. But then they also have the policy, like I stated before. You can't send your child to school if they haven't been fever-free without a medication for 24 hours. And they'd rather you not send your kid to school if they're vomiting or have diarrhea or, they're coughing or any of that stuff. So, then they decided a couple of years ago they don't really want you to bring in notes anymore. They want you to save up the notes and wait until the end of the year, at least in our state and our district. Wait until the end of the year to submit them. So now they're expecting parents to hold on to all of this paperwork and have another thing in the back of their mind to keep track of. Whereas it was just so much easier when you could just send the note in and have it documented as an excused absence right at that point. Now, you would think this would be easier for them because then they wouldn't have to have meetings and go through credit appeals and all of that nonsense. I feel that it creates more work this way. And then, what if you misplaced a note? I've had that happen before. Then you have to go back with the exact dates and call the doctor's office and get the note rewritten. And then it makes work for them as well. Oh, good Lord, guys. So, if you send your kid to school sick, you're bad. Because if they go to the office with a fever, and if you're a working parent, then you have, I think it's 30 minutes to go get your child from school. Or if they're vomiting, that too. So, you're trying to do the right thing and send them to school. And of course you shouldn't send your kid to school when they're sick, when it gets to that point. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem like they're that bad off in the morning. So you just kind of tell them, all right, take some Tylenol or Pepto or whatever. You'll feel better. And sometimes they do, but then sometimes it morphs into something worse. Now you're stuck with, oh my God, my child has a fever that won't go away for 6 days. And you've been to the doctor, 3 times in like a 2-week period. And it's mind-blowing, because, and I know they have their automated systems put into place. Even when you do call and you do speak to the school nurse and you do all the things that you're supposed to do to document it, you still get the annoying robocalls. And there's usually like 3 of them, at least for us. There's one to me. There's used to be one to my cell phone, my landline when I still had it, and his dad. So, and sometimes they'll call more than once. Now I get 4 though, because he's in vocational school, which is a different school. So I get a call in the late morning from them when he doesn't show up. So now I have to not only provide notes for the high school, I have to provide notes for the vocational school. And it's the same difference. It's the same set of rules for them. I know I shouldn't be complaining about it, but God, is it stressful. Like you kind of feel like if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. This time they're allowing me to present the notes now. And because Matt tends to be a little bit forgetful, I've asked to just scan them and email them. So they're going to let me do that because the last time I sent him in with a note that he had to hand in, he told me that the teacher wouldn't allow him to go to the office and turn it in, which I find really hard to believe. And so it sat in the bottom of his backpack and it turned into dust, wrinkled up dust on the bottom of the backpack. You know what I'm talking about, guys. That backpack fodder, whatever it turns into down at the bottom of the backpack of doom, of all the forgotten things. So, yeah. So now I no longer trust him, and, having to replace some of those notes, like I said before, is a real joy. Not said no mom ever. So yeah. Just thought I'd hop on and talk about a couple of things. I need to go blow my nose. I think I'm going to take a nap for a little bit. I had the most glorious hot shower after 2 days. And that is uplifting. I smell good. I've got on comfy, nice, lightweight pajamas so I don't get too hot. As you guys know, I don't like to get too hot. I've got my nurse kitty, my gizmo stuffy, my nice warm flannel sheets on so that I'm nice and soft but not too warm. It's supposed to snow here this weekend, possibly. I like snow. I don't mind it that much, as long as I don't have to drive in it. So I hope you guys are all doing well. As always, I'm sending love from New Jersey. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Tell me what you guys are up to. If you guys have been dealing with any sickness so far this season. I hope that this is not, an omen for the rest of cold and flu season. I actually got some immune boosters today. I haven't had them in a while. And I'm going to start taking those in addition to all the other vitamins. So let's hope that they work. Let's cross our fingers. Sending love for New Jersey, guys. As always, have a good evening. Bye. Oh, let me show you the kitty. This is Nurse Daisy. Isn't she awesome? She is a Maine Coon mix that I rescued, 11 years ago from a high kill shelter in North Carolina. And her story is she was abandoned in an apartment. She was left with a litter box, several bowls of water, and several bowls of food. And she was still a kitten. I guess when she ran out of food, the neighbors heard her crying and they called the super. And the super opened the door to the apartment. Apparently, the apartment hadn't been checked since the prior tenants moved out. And the super found beautiful Miss Daisy as a kitten in there. And he brought her to the shelter. And she was there for a bit. It was a very crowded shelter. From what I understand, it was probably 5 or 6 cats into a cage. And as you see, she looks quite big, but most of that is fur. And she only weighs 11.5 pounds. I know that's crazy. She doesn't look like she weighs 11.5 pounds, but she does have a huge amount of fur, and it's because of her breed. So, and they're also short, stocky cats too. So she was in this cage with all these other kittens, and, well, they weren't kittens, cats. And, her fur got matted and she got filthy and she had feces in her fur, and food and whatnot. And she was there just for so long. She got depressed. She had a little bit of a respiratory illness. And, there was a rescue that posted on Facebook, for the high kill shelter, trying to get as many babies out as they could. And she was one of the ones that they posted. She was due to be put down 24 hours from the day that I saw her post. And I just saw that little face. And I felt so bad for the other cat too. And I couldn't let that happen. So I reached out, and the person that runs that page on Facebook told me that I would need to have a rescue sponsor and vet her. And, I found a rescue, and they were kind enough to pull her from that awful, horrible place. And she was vetted. She was microchipped, and she got all of her vaccinations, and she was spayed. And then she went to a foster home. She received several baths while she was at the vet as well. And she got all detangled, which is why she has this beautiful, beautiful furry coat. So she stayed with that foster for, I think it was 2 to 3 weeks. And then she traveled down I-95 with 19 other animals that were going to their forever homes. A wonderful volunteer from that rescue left North Carolina, took care of all of those animals. She left on Thursday night, and she didn't get home until late Sunday evening. And we witnessed a couple of those animals be united with their forever families at the stop that we went to go pick up Daisy at. And ever since, it's, like, she's just such a special little soul. It's like she knows that she was saved. And she's grateful. She's never done anything naughty. And she's always been so sweet, and she's always taking care of us. She loves the kids. And she loves my friend Cheryl. Cheryl went with me to pick her up. I remember Cheryl was driving, and I sat in the back seat with her. And I opened up the cage and let her out, and she came and sat on my seat, and she looked out the window all the way home. Yeah, and she was about 9 months old then, and it was it was a few days before Matthew's 5th birthday. Excuse me, guys. And that's the story of my beautiful Daisy girl. So I hope that you've enjoyed hearing about this little angel. Isn't she a beauty? She's sleeping now. She's right up against me. But she really is a beautiful girl with a sweet little soul. She's still playful at her age of 11 and a half. And we're so grateful for her. So Daisy is sending love from New Jersey and Mommy's bed too. All right, guys. Take care.